Ladies and gentlemen, ever since the patch announcement, we had a little bit of a looming teaser of an update to Arena, which all of the information came out yesterday evening, and so far, it's looking pretty good. There's a lot of really positive stuff about it, but as well as that, there are a couple of question marks about certain aspects of it, and maybe like a couple of negatives as well. But mainly, I think it's going to be positive, I think it's going to be really good for the game, and we'll explain a bit about that as we cover these arena changes. So, the biggest change is that instead of the two arenas that you have at the moment, which is the 3-star and 4-star one, there's going to be split out into 4 arenas. So you have the Summoner's Trial Arena, which you use 1 and 2-star champions to compete for basically like 3-star shards and premium hero crystal shards. So that one's for the very beginners to do and focus on. Then we have a 3-star featured arena. So this is kind of like the current arena that we have at the moment for the 3-star featured champion, but as well as the 2 stars, you're also adding in the 3-star champions, and the top 10% will get the 3-star featured hero, so that's the new champion as a 3-star, and then across the rank rewards there are a lot more 3-star shards, but not any premium hero crystals. That's kind of one of the big things that they've done with this arena update. They've taken out of the premium hero crystals, out of the ranked rewards, but added in like a lot more shards relevant to the arena that you're farming in, and especially in the later arenas, I view this as a very positive thing. But in the early arenas, it might be somewhat of a negative if the milestones aren't updated accordingly. Then you have the 4-star basic arena. So this one is basically an arena purely dedicated to whatever the basic champion is. And instead of the top 5% getting the 4-star basic, now the top 10% can get the 4-star basic. So it's exactly the same as kind of the current arena. So you got your 3 and 4-star champions. So I think this is going to be the arena that is most commonly farmed, and there's a lot of positives to it, and we'll get around to talking about those in a second. And then finally you have the 4-star featured arena. So now the top 800 instead of 400 have a chance at the 4-star featured hero, and there are also quite a lot of 4-star and 5-star shards to be earned via this arena. Now, I think kind of the headlines and positives of the update is theoretically kind of just looking at this, the amount of basic 4-stars and featured 4-stars on offer in every round of arena has been doubled. And that should lower cutoffs by quite a bit, especially when it comes to the basic. I'm not too sure if it's going to have much of an impact on the 4-star featured arena. One of the things about the 4-star featured arena as well is that you can now use 5-star champions. So that's caused a little bit of uproar, a little bit of controversy, and I can very much understand that. But I think my thing is with the 4-star featured champions is they're all about money. They're all about money or time invested. They're meant to be very exclusive. Like, new champions as a 4-star, they are Kabam's like really big money maker. So the way that you get them at the moment is invest like a lot of time or a lot of units, and a lot of people are quite worried that some of the whales are going to dominate this arena just by, you know, constantly refreshing their 5-star champions. However, I know like a lot of whales that play this game, and they don't even bother with this arena. Like, the time to them is much more valuable than money, so they'll just go ahead and like chuck down several Odins and just buy a load of crystals until they get the 4-star champions. So I don't think it's going to have like too much of an impact on the cutoffs, but I might be totally wrong there. I think it's one of the things that we're going to have to wait and see, kind of how this actually affects the game. It's going to be one of like those ongoing things, but I'm interested to see what comes of it. So I think one of also the really big positives when it comes to the 4-star and 4-star featured arena, the significantly better ranked rewards tiering up. The ranked rewards are really awesome. If we look at like the for the 4-star basic, the 11 to 25%. So at the moment, that's kind of the bracket that will get you the 3-star hero crystal and also 124-star shards. So that's being changed to 500 4-star shards and 200 5-star shards. So if every week at the moment, like that bracket is if you grind all of the milestones. So if every week you grind the milestones, like every month from doing that arena, you would get 2 fully formed 4-star hero crystals and also 1,600 600 5-star shards. So that is a huge increase to the value of the rank rewards, and I think the rank rewards, even at the lower tiers, just being so incredibly generous in terms of their 4-star shard gain in comparison to what they are now, is really going to increase participation rates overall. But also one of the big things that's subject is the milestones. Like, milestones are apparently changing, but we don't know exactly what the details on those are yet, and they haven't shared them with us in this post, which makes me slightly hesitant to think that milestones are going to be somewhat nerfed, because they're pretty good at the moment, so hopefully they didn't nerf or tamper with them too much. But apparently they're still going to contain tons of units, tons of premium hero crystals, gold, and battle chips, as well as adding arena boost crystals. So we'll see. But again, another huge benefit to this, which I love. This is one of my favorite changes, is they're taking out ISO 8 out of the arena crystals. So anybody that has been grinding the game for a very long time knows how terribly bad it is in comparison to get a like 525 ISO 8 out of an arena crystal. So I'm so happy that's gone. That means that it's purely going to be gold, units, energy refills, and Punisher now. Really happy to see that change. That is really good. It's maybe like a bit of a drawback for like your first couple of weeks of playing the game, because sometimes when you're playing the game, you know, initially ISOs maybe a little bit hard to come by, but for the endgame grinders and stuff, like after a couple of weeks, you'll be like, this was the best change ever. So that was pretty good. And also the general thing is, because there are going to be 4 arenas now, if the milestones are a lot better, you have a lot more arenas to grind milestones in. So this may increase the amount of free units that you can obtain on a weekly basis, but again, it depends on, you know, exactly like how the milestones are. But yeah, that's one of the like the really big question marks, is like, what are the new milestones going to be like? It's very hard to give kind of an accurate summary of participation rates and if they're going to go up or not without seeing like what you're going to be enticed to grind for. So one of the possible slight downsides of this arena is that now the 3-star featured champion isn't anywhere in either of the 4-star arenas. So the only way to get a new 3-star featured is to grind in the 3-star featured arena. So it's going to reduce the amount of 3-star featured champions on offer quite substantially. And also, in terms of like that arena, so it's 2 and 3-star champions. I think anybody at endgame, like, just speaking from somebody who has like a lot of 3-star champions maxed, just looking at that, whenever I want a 3-star champion, I can just go in and dominate that arena, because I'm just going to have such a huge advantage with like 60 3-star champions maxed. So I think it's going to be a lot harder for newer players to get a 3-star featured champion, because at the moment, like, it's relatively easy. However, you know, one of the big pros to like beginners grinding this arena is that overall, you're going to be able to get like a bigger chunk of 3-star champions. So you're going to get more 3-star hero crystals, but I don't know, it's a little bit... It sucks a little bit that the availability of 3-star featured champions is going to be reduced, but we'll kind of see how that plays out. I think that's a really big question mark for me, but it's not going to affect me too much, but it might make it really difficult to get a 3-star featured hero. But I think that's kind of what the featured heroes are anyway. Like, I've accepted that in my heart, that featured hero crystals and new hero crystals being exclusive for a certain amount of time is a huge part of what makes this game insanely profitable. And Kabam know this, and they're not really going to change that. And that's part of their business model. So, like, getting more 3-star hero crystals and kind of some of the older champions is going to be a bit easier. You're going to be able to get a lot more of those. However, just being able to scoop up a new 3-star featured hero quite easily might be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, so the 4-star basic arena, you got some I really like the 11 to 25% reward. Something that, like, it's a bit of a question mark for me is, if you look at the 11 to 25% reward in the 4-star basic arena, it's 500 4-star shards and 200 5-star shards. And I imagine that's going to be a little bit lower than the 11 to 30% reward in the 4-star featured, which is 400 4-star shards and 200 5-star shards. So it's 100 4-star shards less in comparison. So I don't really get that. I imagine it will be a little bit higher. I mean, one of the potential problems this could cause is just more of the endgame players kind of focusing on the 4-star basic arena and driving the cutoff a little bit up for that. So I think they should maybe increase that to like 300 5-star shards and like 600 4-star shards, so that mainly people focus on the 4-star featured, you know, if they have the roster to do that. It's kind of one of the potential suggestions I have to that, because that seems like it could potentially be problematic. Also, you know, 5-star shards being added to both the 4-star basic and 4-star featured does also raise a bit of a question mark as to whether like the top tier alliances, like the top ones, they're all gonna like swarm into these arenas now and dominate them to get as many 5-star shards as possible, because there's quite a big chunk on offer. But I'm interested to see how it plays out. Again, a lot of question marks for this, but overall I think the amount of 4-star shards and 5-star shards that the average player is going to be able to earn in a month's time frame is going to go up significantly, because if you get to the 11 to 25% in the 4-star basic and also the 11 to 30% in the 4-star featured arena, that is what is it, it's 7,200 additional 4-star shards a month, so that's like 3.5 4-star crystals, and it's also 3,200 5-star shards a month. So it's a lot of stuff for what at the moment is like quite an easy grind to do, but it's all about, you know, whether the score goes up, whether the bracket goes off, whether they add like additional milestones, or we have them kind of spanning out a little bit further. Again, there's a lot of question marks. We're gonna have to see how this plays out, but I'm interested for this change. I'm interested to give it a go. Overall, I think it's going to be a really big positive to growing your roster at endgame, but again, I'm very interested to see how the changes play out. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, if you're excited for the changes, let me know in the comments below. If you're a little bit hesitant for the changes as well, I'm very interested to get your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Apart from that, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.